Welcome back, listener, to another deep dive. Uh, you know, Today we're going to take you to a future where humanity is really teetering on the edge of things.
On the brink.
Yeah, on the brink. And,
Yeah.
and we're talking about a threat that is so different from us that it calls into question, I think, everything.
It really does.
We know about being human,
Hmm.
how to survive, how to wage war even.
And it makes you wonder, like, what does it even mean to be human in the face of something like this?
Right. And that's what's so compelling about the sources that we have for today's deep dive.
Absolutely.
We've got what seems to be a historical record of this conflict.
Yeah.
And alongside it, we've got this very personal account from someone who just refers to themselves as I.
I, or mankind's wrath, as he calls himself.
Mankind's wrath.
Yeah.
It's chilling,
It is chilling.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And these sources aren't just giving us facts and figures and, dates and places. They're giving us a look into the minds of the people who are facing this.
That's right. They're on the ground. They're experiencing this threat firsthand.
Yeah, and that's our mission today, listener, to not just understand what this threat is, but really understand why it happened. How did humanity, even in this hyper-evolved state, end up in this position?
Well, and what can we learn from that struggle?
Exactly.
What does it tell us about ourselves?
Yeah.
About our place in the universe?
Okay, so let's start with humanity itself in,
Ah.
in this far-flung future.
Okay.
It's not the unified species we know today,
Not at all.
is it?
No, it seems like at some point humanity fractured.
Okay.
And we're left with two really distinct factions. The first being the policies.
The policies.
Now, these guys have essentially transcended the physical realm.
What does that mean?
They exist as digital beings living in what they call subspace.
Subspace?
Yeah. And their minds are capable of processing information on a scale that we can barely even fathom.
So they're like pure thought.
It's almost like they've become pure thought, pure intellect.
But what does that mean practically? How do they impact the war if they're not physically, present on the battlefield?
That's what's so interesting about them.
Okay.
They approach warfare as a computational problem.
Okay.
So they analyze every variable, every possible outcome, and then they offer guidance to Generation 7.
Okay.
They share schematics for weapons of unimaginable power, but they don't actually engage in combat themselves.
So they're like these ultimate strategists.
It's exactly like chess masters playing a game with the fate of humanity hanging in the balance.
But you said humanity is fractured, so is there division even among these super intelligent beings?
It seems there's a split within the policies.
Okay.
One faction is utterly isolated, focused only on developing technology and safeguarding knowledge.
Or like the librarians.
Yeah, the keepers of humanity's wisdom.
Okay.
But then there's this other half,
Okay.
and they control a hidden arsenal of weapons so devastating that their very existence is a secret.
They keep secrets from the rest of humanity.
It seems that way.
Even in a time of war.
Even in a time of war for survival.
Wow. It makes you wonder what kind of ethical lines are being drawn here.
And that's a question that we'll keep coming back to.
We will.
But first,
That's
let's
right.
talk about the other half of the equation, Generation 7.
Okay, Generation 7. Now, unlike the policies, these guys are very much on the front line.
Boots on the ground, so to speak.
Yeah, and what are they exactly?
Well, imagine a collective of augmented humans.
Okay, augmented.
Their consciousnesses linked across vast distances of space.
So they're like one being.
It's like a singular interconnected network
Wow.
stretching across the galaxy.
It's hard to even wrap your mind around that.
It really is.
What would it even be like to experience the universe?
To experience reality
Yeah,
in that way. The
Yeah.
sources suggest that their senses are attuned to the very fabric of space-time.
that is both amazing and terrifying.
It is.
And these are the ones who are facing this enemy head on, right?
Yep.
These others.
The others, yes. And they are perhaps the most unsettling aspect of this whole story.
Okay, in what way?
Well, they're described as insectoid creatures, completely alien in appearance and behavior.
Okay, creepy.
But it's not just how they look. It's their complete lack of anything that we would recognize as sentient.
Like no language.
No language, no communication.
So they're just animals.
It's hard to say.
Okay.
They seem to exist as part of this vast interconnected system.
Like a hive mind.
Exactly.
But across like a galactic
A
scale.
galactic scale, yeah.
So they're not just fighting us. They're something we can't even comprehend.
It's like trying to fight a force of nature.
But how do you even wage war against something that doesn't seem to even know you're there?
That's one of the core mysteries of
Yeah.
these sources.
And we're seeing humanity deploy all this advanced technology, right?
Oh, yeah. They've got nanite swarms planets converted into war machines. It's like something out of science fiction.
But even with all that, it sounds like it's a losing battle.
Well, it seems to be a desperate struggle.
And both sides have access to these incredibly powerful weapons.
Oh, yes. Some inherited from our past and some developed in this distant future.
Yeah, there's mention of this weapon called the Thin Edge, something
Yeah.
about collapsing stars into oblivion.
And there's even a hint that it might be connected to the Bostian Void.
The Bostian Void, that's that mysterious region of space that's been puzzling scientists for centuries.
That's right.
Wow.
The thought of humanity wielding that kind of power is both awe-inspiring and terrifying.
It really is. And it forces us to consider, what does it even mean to fight for survival?
What lines are we willing to cross?
Yeah.
At what point does victory become indistinguishable from defeat?
And that's where I think we need to turn our attention to this self-proclaimed mankind's wrath.
From the cold calculations of the policies to the raw personal struggle of someone on the front lines.
It sounds like we're about to get two very different perspectives on this war, listener.
And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
Stay with us. It really is a stark contrast, isn't it? To go from like the vast, almost abstract perspective
Yeah.
of the policies
Yeah.
to the really up close and personal narrative of
Right, from this like galaxy brain level thinking
yeah.
down to the, the nitty gritty of what's it like to actually face these beings.
Yeah, and what a perspective it is.
Yeah.
Like his account is just filled with details about these others
Yeah.
that are just unsettling.
Unsettling is a good word for it.
Yeah, they're not just mindless killing machines, are they?
No, it's like there's something deeply wrong with them
Yeah.
on like a fundamental level.
Oh, yeah.
And it goes beyond their just bizarre physical form,
Yeah.
He describes them as these six-legged creatures with multiple eyes.
Okay.
Their movements lack any of the grace or symmetry that we associate with life,
Right.
as we know it.
Yeah.
But what's truly disturbing is this absence of anything that we would recognize as individual thought or emotion.
He compares them to ants, doesn't he?
He does.
Like driven by instinct,
Hmm.
part of a collective with no sense of self.
Yeah, and that makes him such a terrifying enemy to confront.
Yeah.
Because how do you fight something that doesn't hate you, doesn't fear you?
Right.
Something that might not even be aware of you as an individual being.
It's like trying to reason with a hurricane.
Yeah, or a tsunami.
We were talking earlier about all the advanced technology that humanity has developed.
Right, nanites planets turned into weapons.
Yeah. But is it enough? I mean, does I seem to think that they can actually win this war?
There's a growing sense of despair in his narrative.
Okay.
He talks about the others' relentless advance, how they just adapt and overcome every obstacle
Yeah.
humanity throws at them, and star systems are falling, planets are being stripped bare.
Bleak.
And even the policies, with their vast computational power,
Yeah.
are starting to admit that their resources might not be enough.
So even they're starting to doubt their calculations.
They're having to reconsider.
That's not a good sign.
No, it's not.
If they're admitting that they might not have the answer,
Yeah.
this is bad.
And it's gotten to the point where they're considering deploying these planet-killing weapons.
Weapons that could wipe out entire solar systems.
Yeah, just sterilize whole regions of space.
So they're talking scorched earth.
It's a level of desperation that's hard to fathom.
Yeah, I mean, what does that say about he's the one who's out there, seeing this firsthand.
Well, there's a sense that he's becoming more machine than man
Really?
as the war grinds on. His
Wow.
emotions seem to be dulled.
Okay.
His focus is narrowed to just survival.
He has to be
Yeah.
to survive,
Yeah,
but it's changing him.
it is.
He refers to himself as mankind's wrath.
He does.
It's like he's embodying this conflict.
Yeah, becoming an instrument of destruction.
So the question is, if we sacrifice our humanity to survive, what's left to save?
That's a profound question.
He is.
And it's something that I think these sources really want us to grapple with.
It's not just a story about a war in the future.
Yeah.
It's about us.
It's about the choices we make every day, about the sacrifices we're willing to endure.
Yeah, and the things that we hold dear.
Exactly.
Okay, so where do we go from here? I mean, Isaac Count isn't exactly a feel-good story,
No, it's not.
is it?
It definitely doesn't offer any easy answers.
Does his story even have an ending?
Well, his narrative ends on a note of uncertainty.
A big question mark
Yeah.
over the fate of humanity.
But maybe that's the point.
Okay.
Maybe it's not about finding the answer.
But about asking the right question,
Exactly.
even if they're uncomfortable.
Especially if they're uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
Because these sources are challenging us
Okay.
to think about what we value what we're willing to fight for, and what kind of future we want to create.
So, listener, as we emerge from this deep dive back into our
Right.
everyday world, we leave you with this question
What did you learn
about humanity,
about war?
about survival.
And what will you do with that knowledge?
Because even though these are stories about a distant future,
The choices they present, the dilemmas they explore,
are relevant today,
and they'll be relevant 1,000 years from now.
we hope this deep dive has given you something to think about, something to ponder. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.